Good Erev Shabbos, everyone. This is Sammy Sachs. And we're here for a little bit of Torah inspiration for this week's Shabbos. You know, the Torah portion is Veschanan this week, an absolutely amazing Parsha with a beautiful opening. In the opening, Moshe comes and tells the Jewish people that he prayed to God so many times and with such heart and devotion to enter the land of Israel. And yet, even so, God denied him that ability. If you look at the first word of the Parsha, Ve'etchanan, a lot of times we translate that, if you look at Rashi and other commentators, as Moshe prayed. He tried to find favor with God. He wanted God to give him this free present so he could enter the land. And yet, if you look at the structure of the word, it could be that there's another interpretation of this that gives you insight into why Moshe prayed so many times. Ve'etchanan is a word that is in the construct of hitpa'al. It's causative, meaning it doesn't mean that Moshe prayed, but that it means that Moshe became full of prayer. That's very different than saying Moshe prayed. According to the Hasidic commentator, the Mei Hashiloach, and the Beit Yaakov, his son, he looks at this an entirely different way. Why did Moshe pray so many times? Not because he just wanted to enter the land, but he realized he had a desire to pray. We must ask ourselves, when we want to pray, where does that desire to pray come from? Obviously, the desire to pray comes from God. As Rav Tzaddok HaKohen says, Iker ha'adam hi ha'cheshek shabo, that the essential component of a person is the desire that is placed within us. The desire is that which comes from God. And we always must assess, if we have a desire for something, why is that desire there? As such, the Parsha says, Ve'etchanan el Hashem be'et hahi le'mor. And Moshe became full of prayer directed towards God, be'et hahi at that time, saying. Why did Moshe daven 515 times? Because he felt a desire to daven. And since he knew he had that desire, and he knew that desire came from God, he knew that God wanted him to pray. And that's why he prayed 515 times. And yet even so, despite the fact that Moshe prayed with so much devotion, with so much fervor, it appears as if he was rejected. God rejected his prayer. Look what the pasuk says. V'yit'aber Hashem bilam anchem v'lo shama elai. Vayomer Hashem Elai Rav Loch Al Tosif Daber Elai Od B'Davar Hazeh. God seemingly gets angry with Moshe and says, "This is enough. It's too much. Don't ask anymore. You're not going to get this thing." Did Moshe really get rejected after God inspired him to pray? It seems like it. But if you look a little bit closer into the words, there's something beautiful that might come out here. Look at the language, V'it Aber. Now Rashi and others translate that as meaning God got angry. But there's another root hidden within that word. V'it Aber has the root of Ibor. Ayin Bet Resh. And for those of us who know, Ibor also means it can mean a fetus, it can mean to be impregnated. There's a very deep secret revealed within these words. Perhaps V'it Aber is not just that God was angry, but perhaps that God understood something deeper within Moshe's words, within his desire and his consciousness. Did Moshe really just want to enter the land physically and see it? Perhaps. But the essence of his prayer was he wanted to lead the Jewish people, to guide them in the Torah, and to lead them in the proper ways once we enter the land. And the truth of the matter is that even once Bnei Israel, the Jews, entered the lands, Moshe, in a sense, still was their teacher, or still was their Rav. How? Because he was the one who gave us the Torah, and it's his Torah, Torah to Moshe, that we were following as we entered the land of Israel. So in a sense, God took that prayer, he took that request, and he made it into a Ibor. He made it into a fetus. How is that? In the same way that a fetus is not fully matured, and it goes into a place that's dark and it sits there until it fully matures and is ready to ripen and come forth into the world. God took Moshe's prayer, and he said, this prayer is not mature enough yet. The time is not yet ripe for us to take this fruit. As such, God did this for the best of Israel. And that's why the pasuk says, V'yit'aber Hashem bilam anchem. And Hashem made my prayer into an ibor, into a fetus, for my sake, and for the sake, l'ma'anchem, for your sake, the people, the children of Israel. So it could be, yes, perhaps God got angry in a sense, but perhaps God was also doing the most amazing, kind, compassionate thing possible for us, for Moshe, for all of Israel. I hope you have a wonderful Shabbos. All the best. Sammy Sachs signing out.